the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to create a document. That's the very first thing. Simple. All you do is you go up to the File menu, you click, and you go New, Document, or a book, or a library. We're not going to get into books and libraries. We'll get into that later. But that's something that you're going to be dealing with because ultimately you're going to be making a book. But we will be working on documents now first. Click on Document, and I get the New Document dialog box. All right? Now, I just want to let you know that I am going to go through all of this with you. This is normally checked. See where it says facing pages?
Right.
That's normally checked by default. I deselected it and it remembered this. I am going to put it back on because this is my only chance to show you the difference between facing pages and non-facing pages. So I'm not going to do anything here. I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to change the size to some odd size. Let's come in here and go to, I don't know, make it like legal. All right. I could have left it on letter. Okay.
All right.
But at any rate, I'm just going to hit OK. And there is my document. Now, what I want to show you over here real quickly is the pages. This is what this looks like. This is what facing pages look like. So in other words, I have 2 pages here, and there is one of the page, and there's the other page. If I had 4 pages, this would be A, B, C, and then D down here.
All right.
Okay, and it would be the front page, the middle spread, and the back page. That's more or less how this works. So that's how a normal booklet would be working. Okay. Now, this is just a number. I put no size into this thing. So I'm going to actually save this. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to go up to my desktop, and I'm going to find, where is it? In Lesson in Design. There we go. And I'm not even going to name this. I'm just going to hit Save. That was the first thing that we did.
All right.
All right, and I'm going to close that. All right, now we're back to this. Now I'm going to show you how you properly approach, because that's really not the right way to do it. You just take the numbers that are there. You don't do that. You basically go in and you program in the numbers and what you want.
The size pages I want.
And all that. Well, not the size, but there's more. But that's the whole point, and that's where we're going to go. The first thing I think I want to do, though, is I want to go to the Edit menu, and I want to come down to Preferences, and I want to go to Units and Increments. Okay, so what I want to do here now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to change some of the measurements on this.
All right.
Okay, so it's Edit menu. This is the menu across the top. These are your tools. These are your panels. And I'm going to go Edit, come down to Preferences, and I'm going to come to Units and Increments. Okay, I'm clicking on that. And I have here the origin is the spread, the horizontal is picas, which is not good for me. I'm going to change it to inches. And then the vertical I'm going to change to inches as well. And I'm going to leave the rest of this the way it is. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go File, New, Document. So here's what I want to do. I have this thing called Trifold right here. I am actually going to show you how to create first a business card, and I'm going to then show you how to create a single product sheet, which is an 8.5 by 11 product sheet that will be printing both sides. The business card generally is just a one-side deal, but in this case I'm going to show you the front and back, so this will be now the reason I'm doing this is not because we're going to build a business card really. I just want to show you a couple of different easy shapes and how you go about correctly setting them up so that when we get to produce the shape that you're looking for, we'll know the proper method to go about doing this.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to call this business card. I don't have a business card in there, so the intent is going to be print. Now, I just want to point this out to you, that you have web and you have digital publishing. Digital publishing is if you're going to be creating something that ultimately will end up being a PDF, and it might go into one of those little tablets. That's essentially a digital publishing kind of environment.
But that's not what I want.
No, of course not. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of what your capabilities are in general with the program.
Okay.
Web, and it's the other one, but I wholly recommend you don't ever do this.
I
So
will.
in this case, pretty much what you're going to be doing is you're going to be working with print. So it is set for print already because I've used this program to actually do another assignment with somebody.
Right.
All right, so the number of pages I'm going to put in here, I'm going to leave this at 2 because I
Okay.
do want this to be a front and back sided printed business card. I'm going to deselect facing pages because I don't want facing pages. These are just going to be individual pages. One page will be a front side and one page will be a back side. So you deselect facing pages because facing pages is something that you use when you create booklets. You're going to be creating booklets. You will be using facing pages.
Okay.
But when you're creating an individual page, you remove that. So
Okay.
again,
Okay.
I'm showing you how this thing works and how you need to think about it when you
Sure.
come in. And you notice it's the very first thing that we're doing. So then the page size. I'm going to come down here and they do have a business card right there. So if
Mhm.
I wanted to, I could click on that business card. It'll give me 3.5 inches wide because that's how wide a standard business card
Right.
is.
Right.
2 inches high. That's
Yep.
okay. The number of columns, I'm not even going to have any columns. I'm going to remove that. I'm not going to have any columns. All right, I'm just going to have this
Mhm.
thing as a regular piece of paper. As far as margin is concerned, I think, okay, so in this case it wants 1 in there, so I'm going to hit OK. Leave it as 1. I'm not going to give it any gutter because obviously there's only 1 column. Margins, the margin is a half of an inch. 0.5 equals a half of an inch. So that means that the margin is on the inside of the edge of the card.
Right.
And we were just talking about margins for your book. You want the wide
Wide.
margins?
Yeah.
Well, this is a half-inch margin. On a business card, half-inch margin to me is a little bit much. This
Mhm.
also is linked. You see that little link thing right there?
Yes.
So that means basically that's linked. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to make that 2.5, which is a quarter of an inch. When I
Right.
click on the next one, because it's linked, they get that setting going through the entire,
So it's like a 1/4 inch all the way
all the way
around.
around.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Now, the last 2 things that we have to do here, we have to indicate the bleed and the slug. So what the bleed does, and notice that I have 0.125 inch.
Right.
That is an eighth of an inch.
Mhm.
Standard bleed for almost any piece of work that you're going to do will be 1/8 of an inch.
All right.
Okay, so that's a number that you just need to kind of remember. You'll get used to it in time. But anytime you're going to have something that's going to bleed, you're going to make sure that it's at least 1/8 of an inch. So that's, of course, unless your printer tells you something different.
Okay.
And I will tell you this, it is usually a very good idea to have a conversation with your printer about whether or not these settings are correct for him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The final thing that we have here is the slug. What is a slug? The slug is a live area. Doesn't get printed, but it's a live area, and I'm going to set it to 75, which is 3/4 of an inch. So outside the card, there's a 3/4 inch area where I can put printer's marks.
I see.
So that's what's known as a slug.
I
So it
see.
is a combination of the bleed settings and the slug area, because the slug area is where the crop marks are going to go, that makes this thing correct for the printer.
Okay. But you add them together.
No,
You don't
actually,
add them.
well, no,
There's a
the bleed, the 0.125 is
right.
within the slug area. I'm giving it a 75 3/4 inch slug area. One eighth of that is the bleed area. That slug and bleed area is outside this number right there, the 3.5 inch by 2.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is the size of your card.
Right.
And this here is your bleed, which is if you have something that's going to bleed off the page, you need to make it go 1/8 of an inch beyond the page so that when it cuts,
And it cuts.
it goes right to
You
the
get it.
edge. Yeah.
Yes.
And then, of
Okay.
course, the slug area, 3/4 of an inch, is the area that is outside the printed piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be trimmed away, but you can put printer's marks on it. You're going to see this in a minute when I actually pop this thing out in
I
PDF
think I
form.
know what you mean. I think I know what you mean. I've seen it on original art so many times.
Yeah.
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 So
Okay.
now that you have all this, if you wanted to, you could come in here and you could save this preset, and I could call this my card, MY underscore CARD, and hit OK.
Okay.
And now you can see that my card is the document preset, and all those settings are now associated
All
with my
saved
card.
here.
So if I'm
Okay.
somebody that makes cards on a regular basis, I just click
Mhm.
on my card and boom, it throws the document information up. And it's the same with you. If you decide that you're going to make a series of books like this and
Mhm.
they're all going to be the same size and format, you can actually create this kind of a preset, and you don't have to do any of this programming. You just do it one time, and then
Mhm.
you just select your document preset and throw out a new document, and you're
Okay.
ready to fire up.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
So what does this
Get it.
look like? I click OK, and there's my document. I'm going to go View, Zoom out a couple of times. Let's go out a bit more. There is my card. Now check this out. First of all, see that blue line right there?
Yeah.
That is the slug area. It goes that, see that black line?
Yeah.
That is the area where the actual card is going to cut out. So that is
So
the
that would be the
edge of the
card.
card. Yeah, that's the card. This here is the margin area. In your case, you would have a much wider margin. You might not, well, you probably have a wider margin all the way around.
We went a 1/4 inch, didn't we?
Yeah, I only
Yeah.
went a 1/4 inch here, and I went an eighth of an inch here,
That's
and I
fine.
went 3/4 of an inch here.
That's
But I
fine.
just want you to associate the colors with what's
Yes.
going on, because that's
Yes.
part of it.
Yes.
So this purpley color is your margin. The reason that we have a margin is we do not want any element that is not going to bleed off the page to go beyond that line.
Mhm.
That's the whole purpose of it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
This here shows you where the actual card gets cut off.
Mhm.
And when we actually produce this thing as a PDF, which I will do to show you, it'll be blank, but you'll see,
Mhm.
when you produce this as a PDF, that is the line that the actual PDF uses to throw out the crop marks on.
Okay.
Okay. And then, of
Okay.
course, the bleed is something that you would use if you have an element that bleeds off. And because you have 3/4 of an inch here, your crop marks are going to display. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, because the printer needs to see that.
Yes. So if you
Yes.
don't have any indicated slug area,
Mhm.
then you're not going to really be able to see this.
Yeah.
Now, this is not too big of a deal unless you have things like a trifold brochure. You familiar with a trifold brochure
Oh
is?
yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a trifold brochure, it's very difficult to have the program set up a trifold brochure. You kind of got to do it yourself. That means that those score marks you have to kind of put it there yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
that's why you need to have this area so that the actual marks that you put up there will display.
Mhm.
All right. So does that make sense? And are you clear on it?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So then what we would do next is we would come in here and we would put all our elements on here. And I'm not going to bother doing that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go to Export. And I'm going to export this to my desktop. I'm going to go to my Lesson in Design. And I have a number of settings here. I have interactive PDF, EPS, and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
Really what I want is I want the Adobe PDF for print. I'm going to call this, I'm just going to put a default name of card on it, C-A-R-D, and I'm going to hit Save. And then I get my export dialog box. And in here, what I have are settings. You spoke to your printer. Right now, if you take a look at this press quality modified, based on press quality, use these settings to create Adobe PDF documents best suited for high quality pre-press printing.
All right.
I don't know that your printer is high-end pre-press printing. I think he's doing digital printing, isn't he? Didn't you say he was doing digital printing?
Yeah. It's printing on demand. Well, the books that he does send things out to be offset, but the book that I'm going to be doing is going to be printing on demand, which is
Digital
basically a
printing.
giant Xerox machine.
Yeah,
It's all
digital printing.
It's all digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah.
explain something to
Yeah.
you. There's probably a very good chance that the setting that you are going to want
All
for
right.
him, and you can verify this by talking to your printer. And this is the other thing that's very important about this. If you have any questions about any of this, you can ask the printer, and your printer will probably be able to tell you how to deal with any of it.
Okay.
And that's something that I always tell my students, is that you can get some information if you need help from the printer.
Okay.
He knows all about this. He really does.
Okay.
What I think you're going to want for this is high quality print. Now watch what happens when I click on high quality print. Use these settings to create Adobe PDF documents for quality printing on desktop printers or proofers. So yours is not a desktop printer, but it's a photocopier, which is a form of desktop printer.
All right.
So there's a good chance that this is the setting.
Okay.
Now, if I'm wrong, and if the guy tells you that he wants a high quality, then you're just going to come and you're going to choose press quality. Now, you've got this thing called standards and compatibility. Compatibility, this is set to 5, and that's probably going to be good for him. Standard, I have it set to none, but there are several standards in here. I can't tell you very much about them, but your printer can. And you might want to just ask the printer when you're preparing this PDF for him if there's any particular standard that he needs.
Okay.
He didn't say anything to you, so
No.
my guess would be that he probably would just take the default, which is set to none. Okay?
Okay.
Pages, all, that's what you're going to print, or you could print a range. In this case, we're only got 2 pages in here, so we're going to print all of them. And what else we got here? The rest of this stuff you can kind of leave alone because none of it has anything to do with you. You can view the PDF after exporting, but I'm going to open it. I'm not even going to select that. There's 2 ways that you can send something out in PDF form. You can send it out without the marks and the bleeds, and usually you do that if you're going to be creating a PDF that's going to be used in another document.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
But if you're going to be producing that document, then you have to have the printer marks.
He needs to see that.
Yes.
Sure.
So
Sure.
to get them, you go right here.
Wait, what did you do?
In the left-hand column,
Yeah.
we were on general.
Okay.
I chose marks and bleeds.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're in marks and bleeds, and I'm going to start off by choosing all printers marks. This piece probably don't need color bars, and it don't need, let's see here, bleed marks, registration marks. The rest of this I'd probably leave unless the printer tells you not to put it on here. Maybe the page information you could get rid of. Then, because I set bleed and slug settings, see where it says use document bleed settings?
Right.
Didn't I set them?
You did. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so I'm going to click that. Include slug area.
Right.
Okay, very important. You got to do this. Why? Because I put the slug area there so that anything that I put on the outside will show. So I'm going to include the slug area.
Okay.
And again, I can come in here and I can save this as a preset.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay?
Good.
So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit export. And now it's right in the Adobe PDF. I'm going to minimize this, get my Adobe PDF open, lesson in design, and here is my card. Let me just show you what this looks like in the end. There you have it. Now, of course, there's nothing on the page.
Sure.
Okay, and there's nothing bleeding. But what you're seeing here is you're seeing the crop marks that exist for the printed card. These here are the crop marks that exist for the bleed area. I'm not exactly sure why they're important, but the printer will tell you either to put them or not to put them in. Because this could be a multi-colored document, it could either be CMYK or it could be Pantone, in which case there'd be 2 or more colors involved. You have to have registration. So those are your registration marks. And of course, this is a 2-page document. So there's the first page, the front side, and there's the back side. They look exactly the same because remember I put nothing on them.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Now, this is the process that you go through. Now, I did jump to the very end to show you how to export this.
Yeah.
But this is the process, and I'm going to show you again. I'm going to go File, Close. Close. Okay. I wish my wife would get that phone. File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as card, C-A-R-D, card, save. All right, and I'll close it. Now, what I'm going to do is one more of these things, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you do one, and then after I do the second one, I'm going to end this exercise for me.
Okay.
And I'm going to have you try one of them and see if you can walk me through the process. So actually I'm going to do 2. And I'm going to use new document panel that sort of opens up for default. I'm going to show you a slightly different way to do it. Same basic idea. This is going to be basically nothing more than a 8.5 by 11 double-sided
flyer.
flyer product sheet. Here I come over, and if you take a look at this, over here you got all the different files that you might have been working on, and you can open any of these if you want, or you can come here and create a new document, book, or library. Same thing that you get if you come up to the File menu, New, see, and you get Document, Book, or Library. So it's the same thing. So I'm going to come here and
Right.
click New Document, and this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it as print. Number of pages are 2. There's not going to be facing pages on this. Okay, this is
Right.
not going to be like a, if I were to do a 4-page newsletter, then I would have facing pages and I'd put 4 pages in there. And if you want, I'll do that to show you, because that is actually more along lines of what you're doing, except that you won't have 4 pages. You'll have a bunch of pages. So you know what? Instead, why don't we do that? Instead of doing this, let's put in 8 pages. 8 pages. So this is a little more like what you're going to be doing. Click on this and we'll go facing pages. This thing here is going to be, as far as the size is concerned, letter size. Okay? Wide 11, height, I want it to be in the vertical orientation.
Yes.
So I can click that, and you see how it just switches those numbers around?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so this will be the size of a letter. Now, if you wanted to, I could even make this a little bit different in size by just changing
stick to
the
that
numbers.
because it's standard.
Yeah,
I mean,
for now. And
now.
again, this is just a demonstration
Sure.
to show you how this looks.
Sure.
The number of columns. What I think I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put in 3 columns. And as far as this goes, let's put in point 1, 0. I don't know whether that's big enough or not, but we'll find out. Let's put some bigger margins on this, though. Let's come in here and let's make let's make all the margins 0.75, because you want the bigger margin, 7.5. So I'm actually going to make this with a larger margin for you so that you can see how you would do this. You could even make it bigger. And then click on the next one, and you see, because it's linked. And if I wanted to make them different margin size, all I would have to do is click on this, and maybe I'll do that just to show you.
Right.
I'm going to go to the inside and outside, and I'm going to make the inside and outside. The inside I'm going to make 1. All right? Let's delete that. Oops.
So the inside is the one
you'll see in a second.
Facing the fold.
Yeah, the fold.
So
That's right.
You're talking about a mirror image.
Yeah, on the outside, I'm going to go 1.5. Not 1.75, but 1.5. So I'm going to have a little less space on the inside and a little more space on the outside. Okay? And the only reason I'm doing this is so that you could actually visually see this happening, and it's,
Sure.
Once again, you're probably going to want to indicate bleed whether you use it or not. If you know for a fact you're not going to be bleeding anything, then you can just simply put 0 bleed.
It makes sense to put the bleed in, because I probably would be.
Yeah.
Here and there, I would be.
And unless the printer tells you that he needs a different size for the slug, all you're looking for really is a way to get some kind of an area that you can show your marks. So 0.75 is probably pretty good. Okay? And again, I can come up here and I can save the preset. You saw me how to do it before, and you could call this 8-page brochure, whatever. So now watch what happens when I hit OK. I think I got everything all set up here. Yeah.
Where do you save the preset again?
Hit Save Preset.
Okay.
And then you just put a name in here.
Put a name in it. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to call I might as well do it 8_PAGE, 8-page, PAGE. There we go. And hit OK. See, so now you got 8-page. And I'm going to hit OK. And there you look at that. So you see what I got?
Good.
I got a nice wide margin here. You got one that's a little bit wider here. The same, a little bit narrower on the top. I got a column, a column, a column, and I also have a little bit of a gutter between the columns. So now I would have no trouble going in here and laying copy into this thing. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is check out the pages. You see what we just created?
Yes.
There you go. So there is your page 1. So look, where's your dummy? Get your dummy book, and I'll show you what you're looking at. That's your front page. This would be page. Let me get that out. This is page 1.
Okay.
And this is page 2 and page 3. Right?
Right.
And then this is page 4 and 5, 6, 7, and then of course you got more pages in here, and that would be page 8, and of course so on and so forth. The only thing that you have to realize is these are known as reader spreads. Reader spreads are not the correct impagination. The correct impagination gets done by the printer. He takes this apart and puts them into
Mm,
printer spreads. And the printer
okay.
spreads lay out differently.
Because of the way it's printed.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? Yeah. You're not actually printing 2 and 3. You're printing like 2 and 7,
Right.
3 and 6.
This is the finished. This is the way it's going to look finished.
Yeah.
The printer's got to
That's exactly right.
reverse and engineer this
Yeah,
to make it
that's
work for
that's
him.
that's exactly right.
And that's not our headache. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his headache.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
fortunately for us it isn't. But you just need to understand that that's what
Yes.
it is. Okay?
Yes.
All right, I don't know why this keeps doing that. All right, so there you go. That's
All right.
basically this. Now the other thing that I'm going to do now is the same process. I'm going to come up into the file menu
Mhm.
and I'm going to go export and we're going to call this 8 underscore PAGER and save it in the same place. Press quality, I'm going to leave that.
Mhm.
Based on press quality, you read all this. You can see I don't have to change anything here. And I want to show you something you might like. Click on marks and bleeds. And because the last thing I did was indicate these particular marks, and I indicated the document bleed settings, which I've included from
Right.
the beginning,
Right.
they're still active, and
Mhm.
so is the slug area.
Right.
So unless there's a reason for me to make this different, now I am going to make this different, and I'll tell you why. Because number one, color bars, I'm assuming that this is going to be have some 4-color photos into it, so they're going to need the color bars for those 4-color photos.
At this point, even I don't know.
But I'm saying I'm assuming. I'm
Maybe.
just assuming,
Maybe.
and this will
Okay.
show you that there'll be something additional added to this. But I
Okay.
think I can leave the page information off. I don't know that I really need to have that, and I'm going to hit export. Okay, so no questions with any of this because you saw it before. It makes sense. Do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense to see everything, the slug and the bleed and everything like you had it checked.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I would prefer seeing everything that the
Yeah.
printer's going to see.
Well, the printer, here's the deal. What I'm suggesting is that ultimately you have a conversation with the printer
Yeah.
and find out what the printer wants you to set and what you don't need to set. And I think at some point in your production, you
Hmm.
could do that. And as a matter of fact, another really good thing that I suggest is if you're going to be creating a book, which I don't know that it's going to work for you because you're creating a very specialized kind of book and a
Hmm.
very specialized pamphlet. And I
Right.
doubt very much that he would have a template for that.
No.
But you might ask him and see if he does have a template, because if he has a template, then you don't have to make the template. Like I do this with my class.
I
I tell my
think
class
I
that,
think I already spoke to him about it. He showed me a lot of different things
and
that
he
he
didn't
had
have anything
done,
quite right.
and I always from the very start, it was like these are more standard books. What I
Yeah,
want is something a lot more old fashioned.
specialized.
That's I'm going to have to come up with my own numbers.
So that's
You
why
know,
it's
so
important for you to understand this so that you
right,
could do this correctly.
right,
Now,
yeah,
you could also have your printer check this,
yeah.
but the point is, if you know what you're doing, you don't need to do that because you'll do it right.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the whole purpose of this little exercise is to make
Hmm.
sure that you understand how to do this right. So this is clear to you? You're good with this? Any questions?
Yes.
General, you any questions about any of that?
No, no, no. That's fine. That's good.
If
That
I
should
give
be
you
good.
if I give you the chance in a second to do this, you give it a try and see if you can pull
I
it
will
off?
give it a try
All
and
right.
see if I could pull it off.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Export. And let me minimize this and let me open this up and let's see what we get now. Come in here. I know this is a little bit boring to look at because there's nothing on any of the pages, but
No, no,
the
it's okay.
bottom line is you're getting to see. Now you see here, you have
Hmm.
a grayscale bar here, so you can see the grays, and you can see that you're going to get nice solid grays in the proper range. And then you've got this color bar here, which will also help the printer in determining whether he's getting true and accurate color.
Okay.
All right. And then, of course, if you scroll down here, you can see that you're getting your printer's marks. And here, if you take a look, there are your pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all the pages are actually in here. Now they're all blank, but they're all in there and they're all set up the exact same way with all the same marks on it. So if I go and hit 4, boom, you don't see any variation, no difference whatsoever. And that would be correct to send to the printer. The printer would be able to now separate this into 4-color process if that's the
Hmm.
method that you're going, and he would then be able to plate it and put it onto his press and run the job.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and since he is working with something a little bit different, he would probably tell you to modify this slightly, and you would just basically ask the question, let him direct you, and you would follow his directions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Good.
All
Good.
right. No questions.
No, you want me to try one of
Yes.
these?